friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about vampire books and the ones I want to read. If you like this kind of content for me, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see a follow-up video where I talk about all of the vampire books that I have read and see if any of the books that I have put on here have done anything, meant anything to me, let me know in the comments. And until then, hit subscribe, like, do all the fun stuff, and let's go. I took a really hard look at my life yesterday and looked at all of my reading, and I asked myself, when was the last time I was truly happy? And then I realized I'm almost always happy and content whenever I read vampire books. And in the past, most of the vampire books that I have read have been about 4 stars and up. There are of course the outliers that are 3 or 2, but most of them have been pretty high up there. So I thought, you know, I always enjoy reading a good vampire book. Same thing when I love reading a good gothic novel. So I was like, let me find some vampire books, whether it be paranormal romances or just downright horror or action or whatever you may have. I think most of these are horror actually. And see if I'm going to like them and read them and have them all on TBR. So yeah. But I think these are the vampire books I need to read to better my mental health. I think that would be a really fun time for me. So I'm going to start off with one of the quintessential vampire books because I think I've read a good chunk of quintessential vampire books. You know, like we have the Twilight, we have the Vampire Diaries, which I need to read more of, but still, we have the Dracula, we have the Carmilla. So obviously, I do enjoy my vampire canon. But the other one that's in this canon is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. It's an adult gothic novel following Louis as he recounts his life or a vampire when he becomes a vampire during it, and I guess leading up to the point of this interview. He recounts all his time with Lestat and all those things. I have seen such amazing things about this book series. I have seen such amazing things about the TV show, and because I, deep down in my soul, am a purist 95% of the time, I want to read the books first before I watch the TV show or even the movie with, I think, like Brad Pitt or something. This is part of the canon that I think I have been putting off because everyone says it's a good, amazing read, and I am always concerned when I leave books, push them to the side, and keep building it up in my head. I end up not liking the books as much because they didn't really meet the expectation I thought it was going to do in my head. So hopefully this does not do that. I'm very excited. Again, it's a quintessential vampire book. So you think of vampire books and you think of this one as well. The next one is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. It's an adult gothic novel. Again, lots of gothic books. Are we surprised? I love my gothic books. But this is about Marion Shaw, who is raised in the slums. Despite wanting to leave the city and all the miseries that come with it, she has no real hope of escaping until she spots a listing in the paper, and that was for a blood maid. Despite her not knowing a ton about the North, she travels north, or at least she applies for the position, and then within a matter of days she's hired. There, Marion slipped obviously into a dark and deep world where being a blood maid might actually cost her life. I have heard amazing things about Alexis Henderson. I think I have her other book, Year of the Witchling, or Year of the Witch, on my TBR, and I am super excited for this. As you all know, I was quite disappointed with Immortal Dark by Tegas Gurma, and through that disappointment I realized that I have not been reading vampire books from that have a POC cast or have a POC main character, specifically a black character. So when I heard about this book, I was like, well, it's gothic, it has vampires, and this also helps me kind of diversify my reads within this genre that I love. So I'm very excited for this. I've heard good things about Alexis Henderson as a writer, so high hopes, but I'm keeping them kind of middle of the ground for my own sanity. Okay. The next one is My Soul to Keep, which is the first book in African Immortals by Tananarive Due. This is an adult, I don't want to say gothic, maybe a horror novel? Yeah, horror novel following Jessica, who marries David. He's everything she wants in a man, very family oriented. Her family loves him, very attentive, he's very youthful. As they're enjoying married life, David ends up making a confession that he is a 400-year-old vampire, where he and other members of an Ethiopian sect traded their humanity so they would never die. Now his immortal brethren have decided that David needs to leave the family that he's created. Actually, instead, Jessica vows to invoke the ritual that made him immortal to make Jessica and his daughter immortal. It says here, with deft plotting and unforgettable climax, this tour de force, reminiscent of early Anne Rice, will win Dune a new legion of fans. I'm very excited for this. Again, this sounds amazing because I love me a good paranormal vampire love story. However, I feel like there's a genre that needs to be explored more of vampire horror, and what happens when the person in love with the vampire is like, no, I don't actually want this life. Will it end amicably? Will it be disastrous? What does it mean for her for the rest of her life? What will this follow them? So I'm very intrigued and very excited to see how this will play out. And it's part of a series, so that means I just have more series that I desperately need to finish before I can start the other series. But you know what, we're not going to talk about that because I'm working through some series right now. The next one is Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is an adult horror novel set in Mexico City, where there's an oasis of vampires in the wings. Domingo, a lonely garbage collecting street kid, is just trying to survive in these heavily policed areas when a jaded vampire runs and swoops in and saves his life. Atoll is a descendant of Aztec blood drinkers. Beautiful, amazing, also kind of dangerous. Domingo's mesmerized by her, and the two of them escape the kind of near narco kind of rival gang that the vampires are there. As the trail of corpses are starting to, she's starting to leave the trail of corpses that they're trying to run, he is starting to, there are both cops and local crime bosses that are on their heels. It poses the question whether or not do Atoll and Domingo even stand a chance, or will the city devour them all? Silvia Moreno Garcia is one of my favorite autobi authors. She is an autobi author. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, split up, five of her books. I haven't read these two quite yet, but it's on the list. She's an autobi author for me. I love all of her writing. She's just amazing. And I believe this is a republished, because she originally published this independently back before she was picked up by a traditional publisher. So it's a republished novel. Super excited for it. It's been on my TBR for I need to get this book and read it TBR, not the physical TBR that I have here. So I am very stoked to see how she writes this kind of love story, because I really enjoyed Beautiful Things. The next one is Wander This World by G.L. Thomas. I think this is another adult, it's queer horror vampire novel. This follows Penley, who thinks he's had his life figured out. So when Melanie Blue walks back into his life, it kind of gets flipped around. Melanie Blue has lived thousands of lives, possibly even more, but she's being targeted by a serial killer, so she's having a struggle trying to do more than battle just her own internal issues, which is obviously that she's a vampire. So when their paths collide once more, they'll find that want and need often lead to the same thing. Will Melanie lose everything when she meets her match? This seems like a romance, even though the serial killer aspect is kind of taking me out a little bit. But I'm really excited about it. It's queer. There's an Afro-Latinx character and a Filipino main character as well. So I'm really intrigued by that. Again, I need more vampire stuff in my life, and I like that this one is a very diverse cast. So very stoked to see where this goes. The next one I think is a short story, but it's The Pale Lady by Alexandre Dumas. I've had Alexandre Dumas on my TBR. I have the Three Musketeers book sitting in my shelf in my room, and I really need to read it, but it's scary, it's really thick. But this is an adult horror novel, gothic horror novel. I'm sure gothic can be horror most of the time. It's following Hedwig, a Polish lady who was sent to the monastery in the Carpathian Mountains for safety. She draws the attention of two very different brothers and soon finds herself in more danger than ever before. A supernatural story featuring creepy castles, misty monasteries, and a tragic romance. Very excited. I loved all the iterations, or most of the iterations of the Three Musketeers. I need to read the Three Musketeers, but again, it's just a chunky thing, so kind of afraid to see what, how thin the pages are, because that even makes it even scarier. But I'm excited for this one. It sounds very creepy crawly, and again, vampires. And the last one, The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This is a YA novel. I've read the first two books actually. It's in a quartet, I want to say, following young Celine, who has left her comforts in her French home to move to Louisiana after running away from some dark kind of past that she has. There she runs into Sebastian, who is kind of like this mysterious night figure in New Orleans. And things, as they kind of get closer, she kind of becomes more entrapped in his world and learns there are a lot of dark things present in this world that she is not aware of until now. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I think the second book kind of like strayed a little bit away from what I wanted it to do, but I really enjoyed it. It's set in like 1800s New Orleans, so super stoked. And again, it's just like, it's right down my alley. It's vampires, it's fantasy, it's gothic, it's scary. So, but that is it for some vampire books that I think will definitely fix my mental health if I read them. If you have other vampire books that you think that will definitely fix my mental health if I read them, let me know in the comments down below. If you're not into vampire books, we can also have a different chat, I guess. But until then, stay safe and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.